Well, welcome, Therapy Flow community. We're coming at you with some great questions today. I think one of the things that as you're growing your therapy practice, it's essential to understand what insight you need to have at any given time in order to make changes, get perspective, create vision, and confront the challenges that are happening in your business. I really believe that action and information are, the left foot and the right foot. And if you want to move forward, you have to take action. You have to acquire information, take action and acquire information. And today we're going to be talking about how you can acquire information about your business that you already have. So it's not really about learning new things, a new strategy, a deep dive that we're going to teach you, but we're going to walk you through 10 questions today that should give you insights about the business you currently have, answers you already have inside of yourself, but should reveal how you can grow, make more money, get new clients immediately if you come up with appropriate answers for them.
Yeah, the as therapists, I think you guys all know that if you ask a good question, you'll get a good answer, and if you ask a great question, you'll get a great answer. And so, depending on who you ask and how you ask it, you'll get a different answer. So you can truly point your ship in a direction just based on the questions that you're asking. And so I think as we're jumping into some of these, I think it's really important to self-reflect a little bit and ask yourself, am I asking questions that are spinning me in circles? Am I asking questions that are moving me forward? Am I asking questions that the person who I'm answering is giving me the answer that I need to hear or the answer that I want to hear? And so on and so forth. So question number one, what marketing source produces your best clients, and how can you start investing more time or money there right away?
Yeah, I think that when we think about your marketing sources, there will be, whether it's your website and SEO or your Google ads or certain site today profiles or a certain specific community partnership with this one other therapy practice, you're like, man, even if I only get one client from there a month or 5 clients from there a month, they are always my best clients, my most ideal clients, the clients that are the easiest to sign up or pay my rate or stay the longest, however you define it. And there's often an opportunity there to immediately invest more into the SEO or reach back out to that referral partner or say, hey, who other looks like this referral partner that I could immediately build a relationship with to get more referrals like that. So doubling down on what you're currently doing that's working great often can produce better ROI sooner than doing something new or trying to even optimize the channel that's broken.
Yeah, I think what's most interesting here is you need to have a concrete way to have visibility on your marketing sources. So take inventory. What are the things that you're doing? And what are some of the branches that maybe you can prune? What are some of the branches that you should water more?
Yeah.
And so having concrete visibility, meaning that you're not just using maybe like manual spreadsheets. Guys, I know how much you love it, but when you track things automatically, it shows you a real picture. And when we were doing some math on some of these things, we saw most practices were underreporting their leads by up to even 60%. And so track your marketing sources, understand where you're getting attention, get real visibility, and make real decisions on which places need to be pruned and which places need to be watered.
Definitely.
Question number
So,
two.
yeah, which therapist on your team right now is doing the best, specifically has the lowest amount of client churn, the lowest amount of clients leaving them? In the therapy space, there's a healthy equilibrium of people sort of graduating from the care that they need and being retained long enough to receive the care that they need. So we're talking about healthy retention here. Which therapist has the best retention and which therapist has the worst retention? And what separates those two? What separates those two?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. We need to understand churn in our business because that's how we understand the lifetime gross profit of our clients. And if we understand our lifetime gross profit of our clients, we get to make decisions that don't affect today and tomorrow. We get to make decisions that affect our year or the next 2 years or the next 5 years. And when you're making decisions that affect the next 5 years, I think you have more confidence. I think you have more emotional sturdiness. I think you have more um, like grit about it, right? Because you are certain that you have this number. If you stick to the plan, it's going to go according to plan. And so we need to know churn. And when we have a therapist that we have clarity and visibility on their churn and whether it's low or high, then we get to maybe start making trainings. We get to start having collaboration. We get to start addressing problems if there are problems. And so great question. Need to know churn. You need to have visibility on it, and you need to be proactive about questions for it.
The last piece I'd say to that is a lot of businesses have a hard time understanding why people are churning. Take Netflix for an example. There's no specific person that interacts with you as a Netflix subscriber. So if you choose to cancel, there could be a host of reasons, but it's not attached to specific quality of care or process. In your therapy practice, sometimes churn is related to your admin or your systems or other related things. But in this case, you have a very one-to-one product delivery. So you can see if a therapist on your team has a higher churn versus a lower churn. And that means you can address by training, by teaching. This is not a macro organizational issue typically. This is a one-to-one issue. So if you're like, man, across the board, we have a really high churn, well, there's individual people contributing to that problem, and it needs to be solved on an individual level. And if you have 3, 4 therapists, maybe you can train them all together successfully. But unlike a larger organization, you have a very one-to-one issue that you can resolve here with either one-to-one or small group training. And that's how I would suggest fixing it if you're trying to move through it.
Yeah. Question number 3, guys. What is one activity that you've been doing for a while that just isn't working? And maybe it's time to stop. I think this is, to me, this is related to time. But some of you, this might be related to money. Some of you, this might be related to um, like rhythms that you're doing in your business. So how I would address this question is, where am I spending my time as a business owner? And what element or what 15-minute or 20-minute or hour block is a low leverage use of my time?
Yeah.
I think there's this kind of golden ratio for buying back your time. So for some of you that are a little bit larger, that maybe have a little bit of money, if you have an hourly rate, you can effectively say, what's 30% of my hourly rate? And if I can pay someone to do that thing, then I should pay someone to do that thing, because then it allows you to open up your hourly time to make more cash. You get to maximize your hourly rate. So that means if you're normally making $150 an hour and you're stuck doing graphic design work, for example, you can certainly hire someone for $50 an hour or less to do graphic design work. And especially if you can make back an hour or 2 hours a week, then you'll be able to use that hour or 2 hours to make significantly more money. And so don't be afraid or shy to buy back your time, hire experts to do things that are taking you a long time, or really just maybe like understand, is it working? Is it not working? Have I given it enough time? And then letting it go.
Yeah. I think there's 2 places I think about for this. Number one is if you're still doing clinical sessions or you're doing low value clinical sessions and you want to not be doing that, sometimes that can be a waste of time compared to your other goals. And you need to raise rates for current clients or work on removing your clinical caseload so you can focus on other parts of your business. And it's not working because it's affecting other parts of the practice that you don't have the time or the capacity to grow because you're still stuck in that place or that engagement. And then the other place that I think about is meetings. Meetings have a habit of, you put a weekly team meeting on the calendar or a bi-weekly admin check-in or something, and the value of the meeting slowly erodes and disappears, and it just means you and other people show up and go through the motions. And so for whatever reason, why you originally put that meeting on the calendar dissipates, and you either need to dial it back in so it's actually worth everyone's time and adds value to the organization, or you just can remove it from your calendar. And we could apply that framework, dial something back in so it becomes valuable again, or just remove it. Let's head into question 4. What are you pretending to not know about your practice?
I think to me, the first time I heard this, I took it from like a coaching perspective, and I don't think that's the way that you should take it. I think you should take this as, where don't you have visibility into your business? So, like, where don't you have concrete numbers about what's happening in your business? And so, by saying, what are you pretending not to know? I think to me, this feels more like, I pretend to not know because I don't actually have data on the thing. I don't actually have visibility on the thing. And so in your business, since you are running a mental health service business, your business has a few segments that you need to have great visibility on. And the segments are marketing, the segments are the intake process, the segments are your fulfillment, and the segments are what level of advocacy does your business get. And so if you don't have visibility on those segments, you are pretending to not know about your business. You are literally pretending because you don't have data, you don't have visibility into what is happening or what isn't happening. And so look at your business, and guys, you don't have to make this complicated. There's only a few numbers that really you need to know for each segment. The number for marketing is cost per lead. The number for intakes is closed won percentage. The number for fulfillment is going to be churn or advocacy rates. And if you do CSATs, so like client satisfaction scores, those are also great. And so if you have those 4 or 5 numbers, you have a really raw, big rock picture. Is my thing doing good? Or is my thing doing bad? And then you can get into the nitty gritties of all the extra numbers and analytics that you could get a hold of, because we all know that there's a million of those. There's no shortage of them. So maybe start with the big rocks and stop pretending to know about your business.
For sure. Next question is, who on your team is ready for more responsibility and leadership, and how can you give it to them? If you have a team, whether it's one person in admin or you have clinicians, wherever you look at it, when I wrote this question, I was really thinking of probably clinicians that are ready for more, ready for management, ready for office management, people management, supervisory management. Who on your team is hungry? That's a really great sign. Who on your team is competent? Also a great sign. And who on your team do you trust? Those 3 things are all cues that, oh, I should trust, I should be looking, and I should find a way to give them more problems to solve. And so not just activities. I think sometimes when we say the word delegation, we think of concrete activities that we need to just pass on. But when I think about responsibility and leadership, that is the right, that is the responsibility to solve problems and be responsible for problems that come up in the business. You need other people in your organization that both have the ability and the responsibility to solve problems inside of the practice. Without that, you're stuck solving all of your own problems all the time. And there's probably people who are ripe, ready, and hungry to do more work inside of your organization beyond their one-to-one sessions. Yes, you have to figure out how to compensate for it, and you have to figure out how to give that responsibility, but it's there and you should do it.
Yeah. Question number 6. If you do everything exactly how you're doing it for 12 more months, where will the practice be? This is really interesting. This takes the use of maybe like projections or forecasts in place. And if you can't make forecasts, that's the root of maybe this question. It's like, first you need to be able to make a forecast. So you need to have some data points for yourself. And then you need to be able to extend it out for 12 months and then give yourself maybe like an over and an under. So like do the same thing and maybe it fails by 20%, or do the same thing and it exceeds your expectations by 20%. Do you like those points? Does it mean that you need to be stretching yourself more? Do you do you actually like, will you actually fail if you stretch this out by 12 months? Like, do you have awareness around the trend that is occurring for your business? And what does that trend actually tell you? And I think the interesting one here is maybe like profits. So if you can calculate out profits and what the trends look like for that, or if you can calculate out your marketing performance, or if you can calculate out your uh, your intake performance, I think those are really great spots
Yeah.
to just look at what's the direction that we're headed. Um, is this realistic for us to hit? How is this going to impact the business? And asking future based questions, I think always help you um, figure out maybe a little bit of the trajectory and determine if you actually like the trajectory.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like the trajectory, it's hard for you to put your heart behind it. And maybe it's a little subconscious sometimes, but it's really hard for you to put your heart behind something if you don't exactly like the direction that the thing's going in.
The easiest one to capture is, what is your current average new client volume in? What's your current average churn volume out on any given month? And where does that leave you in the next 12 months if we don't do anything? Often I talk to a practice owner, solo or group, and there's a big mismatch between the goals that they want. I want a full caseload, by the end of this year. It's like, great, they're getting 3 leads a month and they're losing 1 client a month, and maybe they're signing 1 client a month. Well, that means whatever their caseload is at, unless they do new things or outsized efforts or really fix something, they're going to be at the same caseload size 12 months from now, or their team is going to be filled at the same rate 12 months from now. So we just have to understand we're building the business that's going to perform for us, and just saying, if this business runs exactly how it runs, does it grow? Does it stay the same? Does it shrink? What happens? Heading into question 7, what is something you know will grow your business but have avoided because it's hard or complicated? And I think this is something that I'm guilty of and we're all guilty of. There's often, whether it's once a week or once a month, something that is probably not even just on my to-do list, but the next piece of growth. The next puzzle piece, I know where it fits in. I know that I should do it. I know that it's required, but it's hard, it's complicated, it's not easy, it stretches my bandwidth, or it's going to take way longer than what my calendar is currently set up to fulfill against, whatever it is. So I keep putting it off. I keep not opting to do it because the act of even getting started with it feels huge and complicated and hard, and you just ignore it, even though it might be one of the best things or the thing to grow the business. And now I've just suspended my own growth by a week, 3 weeks, a month, whatever it is, to my own demise.
Yeah, I think this one, is really a big question that I find myself asking consistently. Like, am I avoiding the actual thing that I need to be working on? Am I actually avoiding that thing? Because sometimes when we're working on stuff, we get caught up on just the work. We get caught up on the work. Um, you get caught up. I know many of you have maybe seen like Minecraft or something. You're just there and you're just chipping away at the wall, right? And you're just chipping away, and before you know it, you've got this fine, and you're like, "What was I doing here anyway?" So I think that's like, this has to be maybe one of the most common situations in business, is that you get caught up working on things that aren't the right thing, and you get caught up working on things that are maybe easy to do, and it's not the actual more difficult thing that you really need to get done. This can also be in the form of making a really hard decision. This can be, I need to fire this person because they're not producing, they're creating poor culture, they're XYZ. This can also be in the form of, I need to invest a lot of money that maybe I don't have right now. This can be running away from the things that are maybe like the core things for your business. Here at Therapy Flow, we kind of have this big list of like core things that you need to do for your business and on what timeline. And 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 it's really hard, even though we have everything step by step, one by one. It's really hard for someone to go in at point one and then go to point two and then go to point three without getting distracted and trying to do it on their own pace. And we've seen it time and time again because it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to like decide one day that you're going to make something change and then actually do it.
The lesson I gave our team this week in our team meeting was um when you got stuck, when momentum stopped, resume the journey there. When you get stuck, resume the journey right there. Because often we hit a wall, and that's exactly the wall that we need to go through. And that's the journey to climb up the next step for the rung. But instead, we go left or right or backwards, or we go find something else or whatever it is. So wherever you stopped on your journey, resume the journey right there. I'll group the next two questions together. What are you thankful for today? And what are you doing well at in your business right now? A lot of these questions are negative centric, but these are positive ones. There's so many things that your business is doing right now that is serving for you, that goals you've previously accomplished, a certain size of business, people who would dream to be where you're at or have your team or have your profit margin. And I'm, guilty of being dissatisfied with the current state of things, even if the current state of things is good and real. What are you grateful for? And what are you doing really well that maybe you haven't fully acknowledged or sat in recently for yourself?
Yeah, this is kind of a unique question because sometimes I think we forget that right before you're at a 10 out of 10, you're at a 9 out of 10. And I say that because it's very unlikely that you're going from 0 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. And mostly what happens is you have to take steps, and the steps that we perceive as progress aren't complete success until we see it as a 10 out of 10. And so take a look at what you're doing currently well. This is the inverse of some of our previous questions. So what are you actually doing well right now? Where do your strengths actually lie? And just be realistic. Like, what is something that gives you energy and what is something that takes energy from you? And are you doing those things well?
Yeah.
I think asking the question, am I proud of what I'm doing here? Like, am I proud of this thing that I did? Is a great way for you to figure out if you're doing well at it or not. And I think most people are more critical about themselves. And when asked if they're proud about a certain thing, they may feel like they're really proud at it, and that might be the thing that they don't have strengths for. And so if you're not proud of things, it probably means that you have a strength for it, because you probably creatively see a bigger picture, a larger picture, around those elements. And then being thankful for certain things, I mean, you'll get energy like that. So it's a very important question to ask.
Yeah, before we hit our final question, all of these questions should probably lead to some level of action. You probably even shouldn't fully answer or take action on all these questions. You should probably find the one or two that sort of sticks you in the gut and be like, oh, I need to go work on that piece or think through that piece, take away an answer and go take action out of it. And one of the easiest layups is, who on your team or in your life right now deserves gratitude, deserves appreciation, that you can go give them. Show it, be specific, send that message, shoot that Slack message, give that phone call, say thank you, and show gratitude to someone on your team or people in your life today that needs additional acknowledgement.
With that, guys, hopefully these are some great questions that you could ask yourself and reflect on, and do a little bit of self-reflection. Some deep dives might help you realign yourself.
We'll catch you next time. Cheers.